So, you want to make a script for your webcomic. In this video, I'll go over why scripts are important, why you should make one, some tips and tricks to write awesome dialogue and write impactful scenes, and finally ask, do you even need one in the first place? If this is your first video of mine, how's it going? I'm Mitch. I've been making webcomics on and off for the past 6 years. Currently, I'm working on a new comic for the Webtoon contest this spring, and I just finished the pre-production work of it, which also included script writing the first couple chapters. I've been writing scripts for my last couple of comics. I've noticed not only increased quality of my comic writing, but overall enjoyment of the comic making process. And that leads us to our first point. The first main pro for me is the lower barrier of entry. No matter where you are on your comic making journey, whether you're a seasoned veteran of hundreds of chapters or someone just starting out, you can always start with a script. If you're someone who has a comic idea, but you don't think your art is quite good enough or don't have the tools to do so, start with the script. All you need is a computer or a smartphone and a Google account, a Word account. Honestly, you don't even need that. You just need a pen and paper. Well, it's good to think about your comic a lot in your head. Actually, writing out your ideas is a lot better. Now, what are the rules to writing a script? The first and only rule is that there are none. While sure, there are guidelines and syntax you can follow, if you're going to be the only person reading these, you can write down whatever you want. That being said, from my own experience, try to write them somewhat coherently. I've looked back on some of my old scripts and was pretty confused at some of the sections I wrote because I used shorthands or my grammar or spelling was off, and I had no idea what I was trying to say or convey. Now, to our second point, how do you write convincing dialogue? This point is a bit more nuanced and something I'm still working on myself. The easiest tip to improve your dialogue writing is to just read it out loud. Think, is this something a person might actually say, or are they just saying exactly what I need them to say to advance the plot? A lot of beginning writers think every dialogue needs to advance the story along, and while yes, that is important, the dialogue needs to not sound forced. Humans are not always talking about important stuff. We create small talk, we goof around a lot. Try incorporating that into your comic. Another tip of writing convincing dialogue is to understand the fundamentals of conversation. If you had a lot of conversations like I've had in the past, you might come to a similar conclusion I have, that a lot of humans are pretty narcissistic. While that might sound bad at kind of surface level, understanding this fundamental helps you write believable writing. It will even help you pass the Bechdel test. If you're unfamiliar with the test, basically there are 3 criteria to pass. 1, does the media have 2 women? 2, do they talk to each other? And 3, do they talk about anything else other than a man? A lot of time what happens in media, especially webcomics, is when 2 female characters are set aside and the writer thinks they need to progress the plot. So what's happening is they kind of just talk about how cool the MC is or what they're currently feeling about the main male lead. And it's really stupid. It's kind of unrealistic and people aren't really talking about people like that unless they're Gene freaking Woo. What would be happening is they'd be talking about themselves and, you know, stuff actually related to them. Another tip with understanding that people are kind of narcissistic and only want to talk about themselves is that people always want to talk about something that relates to them. Sure, if you're in like a high stakes situation of life and death, pretty much everyone's going to be involved in that conversation and it doesn't really matter what anyone's saying in those situations. Example, take your stereotypical fantasy party, the strategy thinking leader, the macho tank, the fire DPS, and the quiet backline healer. When the leader is discussing strategy with the group, there might not be that much of a back and forth between the group. Like the fiery DPS running out there first just to die is not going to be like, guys, we need to work as a unit. We should be moving the party to the left flank to attack the enemy strategically. No, they're going to be in the corner, not really even listening to the leader in the first place. Now, those are a couple tips and tricks to make your script writing better. I'll link a couple other videos in the description down below to check out that also give you a couple tips and tricks for script writing your comic. And now, finally, our last point, do you even need a script in the first place? There are a lot of answers to this, but mainly it just stems from what you want in your comic. If you're looking to make a plot-heavy comic with a lot of nuanced lore and terms, yeah, you should totally write a script. If you're looking to just make a comic for fun, want to get it out there, yeah, just go straight into thumbnailing, or better yet, just start sketching it out. Now, you might also have to make a written script if you plan to just make really detailed thumbnails. For certain type of comics and workflow, this method is quite good, and just kind of letting the flow of the art kind of dictate what needs to be said and by whom. That's the method I did for a while, and it works especially well when you're just starting out. And if writing a script is boring and you don't want to do it, just don't do it. If you've never done it before, I would suggest trying it and see if it helps. It's also a lot easier too to just send someone a script and take a look rather than them having to read your scribbly thumbnails. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. In the comments down below, let me know what you kind of think about this topic. Do you write scripts for your webcomics? Have you noticed an improvement in your webcomic writing? And leave some tips and tricks of your own on how to improve your webcomic writing. But yeah, that's it for me. Let me know if this video helped down below as well, and let me know what other kind of videos you want to see in the future.